webinar will be recorded for playback later. You'll receive an email with a link to the recording. So if you have to go for any reason, then know that you will get an email later and you can log on and listen to it whenever you'd like. Again, this is Protecting Yourself and Your Finances from Identity Theft with Sheri Painter and from Premier Solutions. I am Valarie Swanson. I'm a realtor with Century 21 Award here in San Diego. And this is part of a regular education series that I offer to all of my clients and just to the general public as an educational value with different topics each month. So each webinar is meant to enhance and improve your financial and personal lives. So if there's any topics that you'd like me to cover in future webinars, please just let me know. You'll receive a survey at the end of today's event, and I'm always happy to receive those comments and to see what other topics you're interested in hearing about. And of course, since real estate is such a huge part of our economic environment, I'll give a brief overview of the current San Diego real estate market at the beginning of each webinar. And then we have a guest presenter who speaks on a variety of different topics. Just a little housekeeping. All of the lines have been muted, but we do want this to be an interactive session. So if you have any questions during the webinar, just type in your question into the chat box and we will try to get to each one of those. And if you'd like to be unmuted to ask your question, just let me know in that chat box. Also, if you are on Twitter, you can keep up the conversation either during the webinar or after by using the hashtag SBSWebinar. Okay, so with that, let's get started. I'm going to go through the market update real quick, and then we'll get to Sheri and hear all about identity theft and protecting ourselves and our families. So in San Diego right now, total sold listings in San Diego for the last month, for the last year, we're seeing condos decreasing in sold listings by 3.5%, and single-family homes have increased 3.5%. Now, the reason for the condos decreasing is that we have been experiencing low inventory, and with the condo market, there is extremely low inventory. In some neighborhoods and some zip codes, there's maybe half a dozen or fewer condos even available on the market in an entire zip code. Of course, San Diego is divided into many micro markets, so each area is unique to itself. The median sales price, however, is a different story. The condos are increasing by 1.2%, and the single-family detached homes have increased 4.2%. Actually, that's from April to May, not March to April. Yes. So anyway, the median sales prices are going up, and again, that has a lot to do with the low inventory, excellent interest rates still, which I will touch on briefly, and the high demand in the buyer market. And that was the month-to-month. The previous number was the month-to-month, and this is the annual number. So annually, median sales price in San Diego condos have increased 37.4% from this time last year, whereas single-family detached homes have gone up 23.3% from last year. So again, this is going back to our stabilizing market in the San Diego area. Keeping track with the rest of the country. Everyone is seeing an upswing in their markets. However, I did read an article just this morning about whether we're in a bubble or not, and all of the experts are saying that no, we are not experiencing a bubble per se, but we are in that recovery. And a lot of the areas are still under where they should be as far as their percentages based on history. So we are still experiencing a recovery, not a bubble at this point. And interest interest rates have a big effect on affordability, and right now interest rates are still extremely low. When we look at this chart, going back to 2003, we can see that we have a pretty good average of roughly 6% going, in the last 10 years or so. But what that does to affordability as the interest rate goes down is people can afford much more. Currently, the interest rate is an average of 4%. So we're back at about 2011 interest rates right now, which, looking at the history, is still considerably lower than past years. And it's expected to stay roughly around 4% through the end of the year. They are climbing pretty much on track with what the experts had predicted. And that 4% is for conventional loan, 20% down payment. Other loans such as FHA and VA have different rates, and they're roughly around 3.75, 3.8 last I checked. Okay, so there is the market update for San Diego. And now I'm going to switch the presentation so that we can hear Sheri talk. Just one moment. In the meantime, I'd love to give Sheri a great introduction. I'm so thankful that she decided to join us today and to share this information because it is so extremely important. I myself was a victim of identity theft several years ago, and I did not know about Sheri's service, and I had to work on getting my credit back to normal all on my own, and it took about 9 months. So about Sheri, she is a wife of 25 years, mother of two teens, a daughter, granddaughter, businesswoman, sister, and friend. She, like so many of us, understands many roles each of us fills in our lives. Having support and access to the best advice and information is imperative to all of us in these important areas. She enjoys empowering both men and women with access to top-notch legal care and ID theft monitoring and restoration, which both bring peace of mind. Sheri is a certified identity theft risk management specialist who enjoys providing ID theft awareness seminars and workshops to help educate others on the types and risks and ways to minimize risks associated with ID theft. Sheri, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Valarie, thank you so much for inviting me on as your guest speaker today. It's really my pleasure to be able to share today about identity theft, which is actually America's fastest growing crime. I think we would all agree that our identity should be our own. And through education and awareness, we can work towards this. It's really not possible to totally prevent identity theft, but we can minimize our risk and be prepared in the event that it does occur. So today is just an overview, so we'll be covering some general aspects of identity theft. So whoever's on the line, please feel free to write down any questions that come to mind. We should have time for them throughout the seminar, or we can address them at the end. So what will we be looking at today? We'll be looking at what is identity theft. Are there different types of identity theft? How did they get my info? I thought I had it secure. How to protect yourself, and what to do if you become a victim. Okay, so the first thing we're going to take a look at is what is identity theft. Here you see on your screen, basically identity theft occurs when someone uses your personal information, like your name, your social, your credit card number, without your permission to commit fraud or other crimes. I don't know if anybody has seen the current or recent movie out called Identity Theft, but you may think you're sitting at home or work watching this webinar, but really you're in Montana having a baby and you're going to be getting the bill soon. What would you do with that? You may think you have a job right there in your hometown, but actually you'll be getting a notice from the IRS letting you know you owe back taxes from 5 years of working at Walmart in New York. How would you handle that? Where would you go? Who would you turn to? In the movie, Hollywood puts a really funny spin on it, but like you heard Valarie say earlier, it's no laughing matter. And unfortunately, it's a crime that primarily is put on the shoulders of the victim to take care of. The average cost, this is outstanding, the average cost to correct the problem is $1,500 and 125 hours of your time. I personally don't have an extra 125 hours to take care of that. And that doesn't even include attorney's fees. Another really unfortunate side of, aspect of identity theft is it's a very easy and profitable crime to commit. There is less than a 5% arrest rate for identity thieves. It is much more profitable and far less risky than breaking into your home or robbing a convenience store. I partner with a lot of people in educating myself and reaching out to the public, like the FBI, the San Diego Police Department, and I've really picked up a lot of statistics from them and shared knowledge with them, and I'll share some of that today on our presentation. So what are the 5 different types of identity theft? Here you can see on the screen, they're driver's license, social, medical, character criminal, and financial. We talked about what it is, so let's talk about how can the crooks use this type of information. So the driver's license, someone could use that to gain employment, rent properties, get cell phones or other utilities, or the obvious way to use that is if they're getting pulled over to give your information when they're getting a ticket. I worked with a gentleman a few years ago who got pulled over for speeding and was arrested. Had no idea why he was arrested. He was taken, had to spend the night in jail, and found out that he had warrants, several of them, out for his arrest up in LA. Well, he'd never even been up to LA. He lives in San Diego. He hadn't really traveled out of San Diego. He had to take 6 days off of work, spread out over several months, to drive up to LA and try and clear his name. That would be pretty scary. You can tell the cops it's not me, but how many times have they heard, oh, it's not me? Okay, social. People can use your social security number to gain employment. They can use your benefits up, your social security benefits, your government benefits, deplete your benefits, obtain medical care, apply for loans, commit crimes. I just sat down with a young man a few months ago who was applying for a job with the Border Patrol here in San Diego, and his interview was going well, the whole process was going on track, and they did a background check and found that he had defaulted on a real estate home loan in Texas. Well, he's never been to Texas, he's never owned a home, but he lost the job because of that. So because of identity theft, he lost that opportunity for employment. Medical, use your benefits, get prescriptions, get bills that aren't yours, and on the little bit more scary side, have a medical record that's not yours. Have the wrong blood type or allergies there in your medical record. That's really serious. Character criminal, obviously arrested for crimes you did not commit, denied employment, and financial. Financial is, I think, the one that most everyone is familiar with. All of these can hit your credit report and negatively impact your credit score. And as a matter of fact, a large number of identity theft victims are not even aware that they've been a victim until for some reason a credit report is run and then it's discovered. And let me tell you, when you're buying a home or a car or applying for a job, that's definitely not the time we want to find out that we've been a victim of identity theft. Often, this negative information on our credit history can prevent us from getting that job or buying your home. So this is what we're going to look to prevent. I don't know if you guys know this, but out of these 5 types, the fastest growing, most people guess financial. So guess in your mind which one you think is the most common and fastest growing. It's actually medical. It's because so many people are losing their jobs that they're losing their medical insurance with it, and unfortunately, they're getting them off the black market, off the internet. It's much easier to do than you would imagine. So, okay, let's take a look at how did they get my information. This is the most common question I get when I'm doing seminars and talking with people about identity theft. I'm so careful. I shred all my documents. I take all these precautions. How did they get my information? Well, one of the things I found interesting when talking with the San Diego Police Department Identity Theft Division, mailboxes are a huge culprit. So your home mailbox, think about this. Does your mailbox look like this one on the picture? Does it have that little red flag with the door that just easily pops open and closed? Well, this is not the kind of mailbox you necessarily want to have. There's no security here. As a matter of fact, when you put that flag up, that's kind of like saying, okay, I have information in here, possibly checks or, credit card numbers, come get me. So getting a mailbox that locks is one of the best ways to deter this. In talking with the police chief for the ID theft division, they constantly are finding identity theft culprits that have trunk loads and room fulls in their house of other people's mail. And so you definitely want to have a locking mailbox if you can. Public mailboxes, the big blue ones that are on the corner, those are not all that secure either, because what criminals are doing is they're getting these sticky like rat traps, they're like big double stick tape, and they're dropping them down into the blue box and pulling out your mail. So if you have mail that's sensitive, if you're writing checks, if you're making credit card payments, please mail those at the post office. That's the very best way to do that. One of the biggest items that's stolen in this session are your personal checks. And whether you're paying a bill or sending birthday money, most checks and pens are highly washable. So, who has seen the movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio? It's a really good movie. That movie depicts the real life story of a man named Frank Abagnale, who I got the honor of meeting several months ago, and he just was so personable. He was like, anytime you have a question, just contact me. And, one of the things he did was he put check fraud on the map. He basically invented it and made it commonplace. Well, in talking with him, he says that the very best pen, there's all these different pens that tout themselves as not washable, but there's one in particular called the Uniball 207. So Uniball 207, write that down, because it's like a $2 or $3 pen from the office supply store, and in his opinion, this pen is the least washable pen of any that are out there. So all my checks, I write with that pen. Okay, ATM versus credit cards. I'm a big fan of an ATM card, but after learning what I'm about to share, I rarely use my ATM card. I use credit cards much more often, because if you think about it, there's a plethora of ways that the crooks can get your credit card numbers. I'm not going to go on time today to share all the different ways they can, but they can. So if they're grabbing your ATM number and then they start using it, think about whose money they're using and what bank account they're depleting. That's actually coming right from your checking or savings, right? Well, a credit card, if they get that number, that's bad enough, but it's not your money, it's the credit card's money. So I really recommend that you start using credit cards more than ATMs. Be sure and pay them off at the end of the month. I don't want you guys to accrue debt, but especially when the card goes out of your sight, like when you're at a restaurant, you got to give that waiter or waitress your card and it goes away and you're not keeping your eyes on it. Please use credit cards and not ATM cards. Okay, robbery. This is the newest thing I've heard of. I just ran into somebody in a community that I'm a part of that their house was broken into and not a item was stolen, but what they figured out was that the crooks had come in and photographed all their sensitive paperwork and had their social, their credit card numbers, their passwords for the computer. I don't know how many of you keep your passwords for your computer in a drawer next to your computer. Don't do that. So yeah, breaking into the house and stealing information versus stealing actual goods. Dumpster diving. If you guys are if you're not using a shredder, you should. The very best shredder to use is a micro cut shredder. It doesn't just cut them into strips, it kind of chops them into confetti. Also, I do not take all my shredded paperwork and neatly bag it up so that it stays all together. I put those shreddings into my regular trash. So my coffee grounds, my tea bags, my fruit and vegetable, all go right on top of it. Because the crooks are not going to go digging through that. They're going to look for an easier target. Okay, so always remember that. Do not be an easy target. Okay, phone and email scams. We're going to take a look at a couple of the email scams, but never ever share your information with an unsolicited caller. I think that most of us are pretty keen on this, but let me ask you, if you have older relatives or friends, like senior age, please share this with them. They come from a different generation and they're so trusting that anyone can call up. Let's say we're doing a survey, we want your opinion, we're calling from your credit card company, and they just give out information freely on the phone. So please never do it yourselves and share it with others, especially the senior community, because they do come from a much more trusting time frame. Okay, never give out information via an unsolicited email, no matter how official it looks. So let's take a look at some of these. Here's 3 that we personally have got. My husband and I have got these in our email. Now this one in the upper right-hand corner, your computer has been locked. This was a big scam that went around for a little while. I haven't seen it or heard of it in a bit, but it's got, look, the Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Basically it says that the user has been visiting inappropriate sites and their computer's been locked, and now to unlock it, they have to pay a fine of $200 because they've broken internet regulations. They have 72 hours to pay the fine. You can see that. And people are entering their information. They're like, oh my gosh, who was using my computer to go to inappropriate sites? I better get it unlocked. Well, that's spyware. The one in the middle, super common and honestly, it looks pretty legit. Your Equifax score may have changed. Click here, no cost to you, you'll get a free one. A really good way to kind of check to see where these are coming from is you can see the address, that second line down, credit check at lights.badgergrass.com. I don't know what that is, but if the URL looks fishy like that, it's probably not a good email to be clicking on. The second one, I was super excited to find out that I'd won 500,000 British pounds, but this was just a scam. So I can't believe these still go around. The reason they still go around, you guys, is people are falling for them. So if an email comes to you and it's not someone you know and it's not a company that you legitimately do business with, even if it's a company you legitimately do business with, I generally read it, delete it, go to that company's website and log in there and find the information. So there's a couple of examples. Okay, when you're making online purchases, you need to do 3 things. You need to make sure, number 1, that the company you're dealing with is a reputable company. Okay, I know a lot of times we can do price comparisons and go for the cheapest one, but always make sure it's a reputable company. Make sure that there's a secure icon up in the URL, and you can see where I've circled in red. Not only is there a little lock, but instead of just HTTP, there's HTTPS, which means secure. So you want to make sure that's there as well. And again, we talked about this. Please use your credit card number, not your ATM number. So whether you're making purchases, paying bills, registering for service, please be sure and do those 3 things. And just an FYI, the largest single source of identity theft is the corrupt individual on the inside. So, we need to make sure and take very cautious steps, but we'll talk a little bit more about what to do in the event. So here's how to protect ourselves. We've looked at a lot of information. We've covered a lot of different steps, but here's 4 easy steps we can remember, okay? Ask questions before you share your information. Whether you're sharing it online, on the phone, wherever. Ask questions before you share your info. Lock it up. Okay, see right here, do not leave your purse or wallet in your car or in your gym locker. This is the number 2 tip from the San Diego Police Department Identity Theft Division. This one problem area creates more identity theft than they would care to share. Okay, drop your mail at the post office, have a locking mailbox for delivery, secure your electronic info with virus protection firewall, and do not carry your social security card or numbers around with you. Keep that in a secure, locked, hidden place. Shred it and password protect it. This website, under password protected, is passwordsavvy.org. It's a great resource for coming up with unique passwords. They're easy for you to remember, but would be hard for someone to guess. So that's a useful place right there. So ask questions before you share, lock it up, shred it, and password protect it. Okay, monitor your credit report. This is really a crucial step. You can request a yearly credit report from each of the 3 major credit bureaus, and they're listed right there: Equifax, TransUnion, Experian. There's a list of some of the things to keep your eye out for that will pop up on these credit reports. Annualcreditreport.com is the only official website that you'll want to go to do that. There's a lot of websites out there that try and play off of this, like free credit report, free annual report. It's actually annualcreditreport.com. And you can stagger your requests so that you're actually getting one of these every 4 months. However, continual monitoring is really the best. Okay, so what to do if you're a victim? You find out, someone's been using your credit card number, or someone's used your social. The newest, the most common thing right now is you go to file your taxes and someone's already filed your taxes. So what do? The immediate things you need to do are place an initial fraud alert, order your credit reports, and create an identity theft report. Okay, after you've done those 3, you need to start to monitor your progress. And those are listed out here. Create a log of all the telephone calls, send letters by certified mail, create a filing system, make a timeline. You may need to work with an attorney. A lot of times you're going to need that legal help in writing letters and dealing with things in relation to your identity theft. You can also visit www.premierfreedom.com, and you can request a copy of this Federal Trade Commission booklet that outlines the 42 steps that you should take. There is an alternative to this, though, and we'll go over that, because 42 steps is a lot. There are hundreds of thousands of other databases which contain your info, like your address. Your address is out there everywhere. Your medical records, your real estate deeds, your insurance claims, military record, the DMV, our information's out there. So monitoring your credit report and the other databases is something that's both important to do and it's not really something you can do as an individual. So that brings us to ID theft monitoring services. This is a question I get all the time. What about all those monitoring services that are out there? Well, monitoring is definitely the first step you should take. What should you look for in a monitoring service? Well, you want to make sure that it has the opportunity to monitor all 3 credit bureaus. You want to make sure it has real-time notification. What is that? That is if something pops onto one of these databases that looks fishy or suspicious, or something pops onto your credit report, that you immediately get a notification, not a week later or a month later. What to look for. It's a plus if the service offers legal help, because the Federal Trade Commission says 65% of all victims will need legal assistance. And ultimately, what you're going to want to look for is restoration versus resolution. Resolution is a company that says, okay, here's the 42 steps, go have fun with that. Restoration is a company that will do those for you. Here's a website that's got a great comparison chart at it. And, we urge our consumers to engage with the service prior to identity theft occurring so that they can proactively manage their identities. And during this time, a certified fraud specialist can lead consumers into making the right choices to protect their identity and reputation. And if identity theft should occur down the road, a dedicated fraud specialist can work on behalf of the consumer to restore their identity and good name. So put something in place before you're a victim. So the short answer is yes, you definitely want a monitoring service because you can't monitor constantly. I have a fantastic white paper with helpful contacts and resources. If you'd like for me to send that to you, you can email me at spainter@premiersolutionsinternational.com or you can call me at 805-890-8817. I can add you to our newsletter if you'd like. It's got stories and tips. I can talk to you about putting a plan in place. So hopefully this has all been really helpful for you. You've gotten some good tips at it. out of it, and I'd like to leave you with 2 steps. First is request my resource paper. It's got groups to contact so that you can minimize public access to your info. And second, get a comprehensive identity theft monitoring and restoration service. For a free personal consultation, if you'd like to take a look at things a little bit more personally, you can contact me at either of those 2 places as well. So I think I saved time for questions. Does anybody have any?
We'll just give a minute and see if anybody has a question. Sometimes it takes a second to think about it.
Okay.
But that was a fantastic presentation. Thank you. I was tweeting throughout the presentation with all your tips. So
good, and I'm glad that you're writing with a Uniball.
Yeah, I am. I just happened to look down like, oh, I wonder what I have. And I have a Uniball 207 that Chicago Title Company passed out. So they must be on top of things, knowing that, you know, this is a good pen to be writing contracts with and such in real estate. So thank you, Chicago Title. I don't see any questions right now, but we are available to anyone that has questions. And I really encourage you to take Sheri up on that white paper offer. I haven't read it, but I'm going to take her up on that myself and take a look at it. And also to give her a call for that free consultation. I have sat down with Sheri, and she is a wealth of information, and your passion for ID theft comes through because you have done a lot more research and connected with a lot more resources than most people that I know that offer this type of service. So definitely a person to be connected with in this area. Thank you, Sheri, for the presentation, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. I hope you found everything very informative and valuable. And of course, we're happy to answer any questions later if you'd like to fill out that survey or connect with us later after the webinar. You will be getting an email with the recording, and I invite you to share it with friends or to listen to it again at another time. Keep an eye out for the invitation for our next educational webinar. And everyone have a fantastic day.